Thankfully, there are some decent people out there that are trying to use their platform to make this a better world. Some of them actually are trying to do right. And one of the people that has been making that effort is Theo Vaughn. And the person he had on to speak about the inner workings of the Israel control over the United States is friend of the show, John Kiriakou.
Happy because they knew exactly what was going to happen, that we would have to enter the war, we would attack Afghanistan, we would probably then...
I don't know why this didn't start from the beginning, but listen carefully to what John says regarding the dancing Israelis. That's where they start.
They were happy because they knew exactly what was going to happen, that we would have to enter the war, we would attack Afghanistan, we would probably then, take a permanent position in the region, which is exactly what happened.
Right.
That's why they were dancing. They were happy. 9/11 was a good thing for Israel.
Yeah.
It got us militarily engaged over the long term.
But you don't think that they were involved in the setting up of it?
I don't.
Yeah.
No. There's never been any evidence to suggest that they were involved in any way.
Well, I don't agree with John on that. I will take what he says with a grain of salt. But what I would also say is that, and I like John, I think he's done a lot of great work, but once in the CIA, always in the CIA. That does not change. And I do think sometimes they have to be very careful about certain statements that they would make. But I 1000% believe that Israel was involved in 9/11. But remember, when you're in the CIA, you choose your words very carefully. Theo asked him, did Israel plan 9/11? And he said no. But he didn't say that Israel was not involved in 9/11. Remember, words matter.
I have no idea.
No, but there was another thing too, and this is a bigger issue. It's that the Israelis spy on the United States. They've always spied on the United States.
Do we spy on them also?
No, and that's written in stone at the CIA. We do not spy on Israel. But they openly spy on us. They're all over the country stealing defense secrets.
Do we spy on other countries?
Yeah, we spy on almost every.
Why can't we spy on them?
It's a political decision that's been made. Yeah,
In other words, this is a money and power decision, and that's why we don't. Pretty simple.
Political decision in the White House, on Capitol Hill.
Sometimes it just feels like our country is just kind of owned by Israel and they just don't say that. Do you think that that's true or do you think that's fictional?
Well, I don't think it's so clear cut. I think the truth is that the Israelis have inordinate political influence in the United States, especially in our elections.
Yeah. Well, they just had that election with Thomas Massey that
exactly. That's the best example.
That got overtaken. What happened with that election? Let's bring it up. I mean, I know that Thomas lost, but it was the largest.
Yeah, $35 million was spent.
The American Israel Public Affairs Committee, or AIPAC, and other pro-Israel interest groups have uncorked over $9 million in a bid to unseat Republican Representative Thomas Massey on Tuesday, which they did in a competitive primary that has shattered spending records. Prominent pro-Israel GOP donors have funneled millions more into a super PAC stood up by President Donald Trump's political operation that has spent nearly $7 million on the race. Overall ad spending has topped $32 million, making it the most expensive House primary on record per tracking firm Ad Impact. Wow.
For a job that pays $180,000 a year.
Which again is proof positive that it isn't really a question of whether or not the job is you're not, people need to understand what the role of a congressional representative really is, what a federal representative is, which is why when so many people try to jump into this world, they have no idea what they're getting themselves into. You, in many ways, are in control of a family. Call it a mafia family, call it whatever you want. But you have a responsibility to a multitude of different moving parts within the region that you represent. Now, sometimes that power extends outside of that district. And in the case of Thomas Massey, Thomas Massie was not conducting himself like a congressional representative. He was conducting himself like somebody who was masquerading as the real president of the United States, and they had to shut him up. Because his truth is all of our truths. It's what we're seeking. We're seeking that sustenance, that honesty, that direction. And this is why I've said AOC can never be Thomas Massie, because she's not willing to make herself a political martyr. Her career is too important. Bernie's too old, and he's wrapped up in his own liberal Zionism, among other reasons. Political leadership, true leadership, is very hard to find. Those that are willing to get knocked down in order for others to get up. It's a sacrifice that I don't think truly too many people understand. Being in that world, I mean, it's pretty serious business. And now what you're seeing is this unmasking that people with platforms that are 100x over us, like a Theo Vaughn, talking to John Kiriakou, who we have been very fortunate to have on our channel several times, is getting that message out to millions of people. And that's how, in some ways, especially in the digital age we live in today, that the revolution is happening. Theo Vaughn is a part of that. Theo Vaughn's intentions when he supported Trump in 24 were pretty solid. And as soon as Trump started deviating away from reality, in terms of what he said he was going to do versus what he actually was doing, Theo turned very fast. This was not a guy who was trying to hang on to dear life to his Trump support. He recognized that I made a mistake. Not that I should have supported Kamala, but that I shouldn't have supported Trump either. We have to find a new path. And that's what he's trying to do. And that's why he's talking to John. Trust me, John Kiriakou may still be CIA, but he's rogue CIA, kind of like Tucker Carlson. There are those like Tucker, like John, who are in that world, who see the writing on the wall and what's happening to our country. And they're not going to be silent about it. And that's the power of these conversations.
So what are the long-term benefits of them getting this position, or was it just about getting Massie out?
It was getting Massie. The thing about AIPAC is if you are not 100% pro-Israel, they will primary you. They'll primary you with somebody who is 100% pro-Israel. And sometimes, you know, the perfect is the enemy of the good. Where
what does that mean?
Where you've got, for example, there was an incumbent Democrat in New Jersey who voted pro-Israel 90% of the time. They ran a primary opponent against him, who was 100% pro-Israel, and he lost. But so did she. And the one that won was the one that's pro-Palestinian.
Ah, I see. So sometimes by aiming for one, you might let another through.
You end up hurting your own cause.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I can understand people's angst with this sort of thing. I mean, the biggest thing is just like if Israel is involved in a genocide, right? They're genociding people.
Right.
It's almost like, why would you let Nazi Germany invest in your people who are going to be running congressmen or senators in your country? It's crazy. I don't see how there's not a law. Like, why isn't there a law if a country's doing like a Holocaust or like a genocide, that they're not allowed to invest in, that they're not allowed to have a lobby in our elections?
See,
was there ever a law about that?
No. And they would lose their shit over the use of the word genocide. You used it. I use it. It's a genocide.
We've been using it on here for years.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the difference between somebody who is willing to be revolutionary and those that are willing to continue to prop up this broken, failed economic and political system. Like those clowns on the stage trying to become congressmen. In this case, you have revolutionary conversation happening in real time. You're right. They hate using the word genocide because, again, that's what's happening. Whenever they react in a vitriolic way, insisting that you're wrong, what that means is that you've hit a nerve and you're doing it right. If you're not pissing them off, then you're not doing it right. It's one thing we know about this ideology is that you know when you're hitting a nerve and you're doing it right. So always be cognizant of those that are not. Theo, you're doing great. And John, what can I say? You've always been great.
Meets all the international legal requirements of a genocide.
Yeah, well, I think the UN has voted that it is.
Yeah.
I don't know if the vote passed because I think there was maybe some groups that wouldn't agree to it.
Well, it didn't pass the Security Council, but it passed by 90-something% in the General Assembly.
Yeah, but I don't understand why that seems fair. And also, I'm amazed that I don't understand why people that made like movies and wrote books about the Holocaust, why they don't speak up and say, hey,
yeah,
this is the same thing that I wrote about. You know what I'm saying? You can show picture to picture that makes it exactly
killing is wrong. It's wrong no matter who's doing the killing or who's being killed. It's just wrong.
But I don't see why some of those people don't speak up.
The biggest reason, Theo, that they don't speak up is because it is not advantageous to their position in society. As we've often said, those that defend genocide, those that defend Israel, and those who are silent on Israel are often people in certain positions in society that it is to their benefit to either go along with it, either because it is career advantageous, career defining, or they agree with it, which is the worst. And then there are those who simply are cowards and are not willing to do what's right. And they will rationalize it in their mind. It will justify their own inadequacies. Jen and I have talked about it at length. It's one of the true failures of Jewish culture in the United States. There's a lot of Jews out there who know that this is wrong, that this has been wrong since day one, and that the whole concept of the state of Israel is wrong, and they've always known it. But because a significant portion of the Jewish population is in the middle to upper and outright affluent class, and so much of this is based on class, and being in that class is very important to a lot of those people, they will not speak out against it because being in that class is more important. Much like trying to get into Congress is much more important than having humanity. So when I say I don't sympathize with what's going to happen to each and every one of them in this country and beyond, when they really have to be looking over their shoulder everywhere they go, I have no sympathy whatsoever. None. And neither should you.
Well, there is an increasingly large number of Jewish Americans who are speaking out. There's a big group called Jewish Voices for Peace. The Orthodox Jewish community in New York has been very vocal. Just this week, there was
a protest going on, wasn't
annual Israel Day parade, and a lot of the Orthodox Jews from Brooklyn showed up with Palestinian and Iranian flags, and it caused violence. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I just don't understand why. What is America afraid of? Like, what have you seen like in the CIA? Because it does. You hear a lot that that the Israeli influence like has taken over our CIA and our FBI. Do you think that that's true or not?
Well, I can't speak to the FBI, and my CIA information is dated. I left the CIA more than 20 years ago, but when I was there, we kept the Israelis at arm's length, like seriously so. The very first liaison intelligence briefing I ever gave was to the Israelis. I had been only on the job 6 weeks, and my boss said, listen, you're going to give a liaison briefing. It's going to be a whole big group of people. So you're going to be the last one to talk because you're the most junior, but you need to know some of the ground rules. He said, we do not meet with the Israelis in the building. We used to, but every time they'd come, they'd bring us gifts. And the gifts are always packed with listening devices and batteries.
Is that true?
Yes, 100% true.
Would you guys find him? How do you even know that that's true?
Because you have to x-ray everything that comes into the building. You can't just wantonly walk in off the street with, boxes of gifts and say, here, this is for you.
And what'd they do, to sew a couple Palestinian ears from the rubble?
And they're like,
I mean, I would like to say that that's a joke and that that's funny. And this is part of the reason why Jen and I like to do humor on our channel, because when Theo makes a statement like that, yes, it's barbaric and grotesque, but it's meant to be tongue-in-cheek, because what else can you do? Otherwise, you'll pull your hair out. Yes, it's a joke, but it's also a half joke. Maybe they do things like that. Perhaps not to the CIA, but it warrants a response.
we're just joking.
Oh, it's like joking stuff.
Yeah, it's not joking.
Right. So that happened during your time. Was that with other countries too? So I'm sure there's other countries that like.
Oh, there are other countries we don't even have liaison with.
Got it.
But with the Israelis, we had to rent a place, and we would meet with them in the place. On my very first day at the CIA, you meet in the auditorium called the Bubble, and the head of HR comes out, and the director comes and says, "Welcome to the CIA," and then the head of security. It's just a parade of important people come to welcome you. So the head of security said a couple things. One was funny. He said, the gravest threat facing America today is the threat of Soviet communism. And I said to the guy next to me, does this guy not read the papers? There is no Soviet Union anymore. Anyway, he went on to say that the Israelis have two declared intelligence officers in the United States, one Mossad and one Shin Bet, so CIA and FBI equivalents. They're at the Israeli embassy in Washington. But the FBI has identified 187 additional undeclared Israeli intelligence officers spread out all over America, stealing secrets from defense contractors. So the lesson was, don't ever talk about work outside the building. Don't ever eat at the restaurants in McLean, Virginia, because they're all Russian KGB, and back then it was the KGB, and Israeli Mossad agents eating there to hear what the CIA people are saying after work.
Wow.
Yeah.
It sounds exciting though, at least.
It was kind of exciting.
I bet it was like a real whodunit.
I loved it. I really did.
Yeah.
I loved it until I didn't love it,
Yeah.
And I think that's the lesson that a lot of people can take away from this conversation. That is the real lesson. John said it best. I loved it until I didn't love it. I mean, think about it. Central Intelligence Agency, Langley, it's the very top, along with the FBI. That's the top of the mountain. In terms of global intelligence, it doesn't get bigger than that. There are merits to defense. I'm not going to sit here and say that there aren't merits to things like the Federal Bureau of Investigation. But make no mistake, we are a rogue nation. We probably always have been, because the checks and balances were never appropriate. Harry Truman started the FBI, and I believe he started the CIA as well. And he said, I wish I never did. Well, this is kind of like Woodrow Wilson and all the organizations he started. Whether they knew that that was what was going to result from it, who knows? Which is why when somebody says, oh, Tucker's intelligence, Kiriakou's intelligence, they can't possibly have any merit. It's all evil. I don't agree. I don't believe it's all evil, because sometimes we have to live in the real world. There are enemies at the gate. They do exist. It's like anything. It's the dynamics of power. If you've ever read The Prince by Machiavelli, that's a great example of understanding the power dynamic of human behavior. But what I will also say is that if you do not hold people to account who do wrong, it's not a question of will it get worse? It absolutely will. One of the biggest reasons why the Israelis assassinate infants is because there are no consequences for their actions. No. Now, they also understand that this is one of those moments where an assassination of an infant, considering the PR hits that they've been taking, I should say, they have to say something. They can't ignore it. To be brazen about that one, that would be really bad right now. It's already bad, and it's going to continue to get worse. But I also believe that they are on their way out, because I believe there are members of the intelligence agency that are speaking up and speaking out. I believe that there are always ones that are opportunistic in terms of why they're doing it. You know, Joe Kent would be an example of one who was probably looking for a soft place to land, but he did it nonetheless. And even though we see the game, we see the, I don't want to say this is like a slow-moving car crash, but we're certainly aware of our surroundings in a way that most Americans probably were not 2.5 years ago. But they're aware now, and there is no putting that cat back in the bag.